Are you ready for spring as much as I am? Then you're definitely not going to want to miss out on these 2 nature-inspired spring DIYs. Alright, for our first DIY, I'm going to be using this 8x10 canvas board, and using a flat palette knife, I am going to be pulling up those staples on the back side. Use other tools as needed, and then pull all the staples out along the edge. Once the staples are all removed, you can remove the canvas and set that aside for another project. Just make sure that if any staples remain, that they are flush to the back side of the surface. So you could paint the frame if you'd like, but I just wanted to give this a really antique look, so I am going to be using this Amish gray craft paint by Decor, and I have watered it down. I'm going to give it a coat and then use a rag and pull off any excess. I'd like to take a moment and welcome you to CreArtive by Nature DIY and Decor. My name is Donna. If you're new, I'd love for you to tap on that subscribe button along with the bell to keep up to date with everything I have to share. Continue to add the color wash until you get the desired look that you want. Set it aside and allow it to dry. Once dry, I am now going to be using this coarse sanding block and removing any of the rough bits. You can use a rag to remove any of the dust. So now I am going to be using a strand of some jute twine, and I have these upholstery tacks. They're nice and short. I am going to cut a strand of the jute twine, and then I'm going to be tying a knot on each end. So now I'm going to be placing the upholstery tack through that knot, and then about 1 inch down on the side of the frame, I am going to hammer this into place. This will be the hanger that you can use if you choose to put this on your wall. I do the same for both sides of the frame. So here are some branches that I got from outside, and I have people ask me all the time where I get my branches from. Well, here is a trail that I go for a walk on that's really close to my home. And as you can see, there are lots of trees and shrubs that grow along the way. These trees and shrubs have a really beautiful golden yellow lichen, and those are the branches I pick. Just make sure that there's no thorns on those branches. Now, I typically allow these to dry in the hot sun, but you could bring them indoors, place them in the oven on a low temperature, and have them in there for about 10 minutes to kill off any bugs or mold. Just please keep an eye on the branches. So now I am going to be cutting some branches down and gluing them into place onto the frame. You can add as many branches as desired. Here I have this beautiful bird's nest that I actually made. I am going to leave the link to the tutorial on how I made this in the iCard above, plus in a link down below if you want to go check that out when you're done here. I'm adding some hot glue onto some branches and gluing the nest into place. You can continue to add as many branches to the frame as desired. I absolutely love nature-inspired projects like this. Here I have some mini eggs that I painted with a blue chalk paint and splattered them with some brown paint, and I'm just going to hot glue those into place into the middle of the nest and then allow the glue to set. I love this nature-inspired spring DIY. I love the natural elements along with how rustic this feels. This would be beautiful on your wall or on an easel. Today's video is part of a collaboration with my friend Jamie over at Simple Roots, Simple Living. I will leave the link to her video and channel down in my description box. You don't want to miss out on her channel. She is so much fun and she's such a sweet lady. I really have been enjoying getting to know her. So please go check her out. For this next project, I am going to be using this canvas wood board. I picked this up at a store called Dollarama. I have seen these at craft stores or online as well. This one is 8 by 10. I am going to be giving this a coat with my favorite stain called Walnut. It's a gel stain put out by Decor. I'm using a paintbrush to apply it, and then I'm going to be using a rag to remove the excess. I am going to be covering the entire frame except for the backside with the stain. Now I'll be setting the frame aside to allow it to dry well. Once dry, I am now going to be using my favorite chalk paint called Whisper, again from Decor, and I am going to generously apply a single coat of the chalk paint to the entire surface of the canvas board. You can then set the frame aside and allow it to dry well. Now I'm going to be using a coarse sanding block and I'm going to distress the edges. Now I did use a rag to remove any of the dust. I want to add more distressing, so I'm using this distressing put out by Ranger, and I'm using a sponge and applying it to the edges and just on some of the other flat surface. To seal the ink in, I'm going to be using the satin varnish, again put out by Decor. Now, the ink is water-based, so you'll want to gently apply the varnish so you don't move the ink around too much. And I'm coating the entire surface with the varnish, and it just really helps everything to pop. Allow it to dry. Once dry, you're then going to flip it over, and again, I'm using some jute twine, and I'm just going to glue a strand to the back side of the canvas board. I add a generous dollop of the hot glue, and I push the string into the glue. So for an added fun touch, I am going to be using this book paper that's been coffee dyed. I'm tearing off the edge just to have a really rough, rugged looking piece of paper that's been looking like it's sitting around for a while. And I'm going to use my distress ink again to distress the edges. You could use sheet music, you could use scrap paper. You don't even have to add this touch. It's completely up to you. I just really like the rustic nature of this. I am then going to be using some glue stick, and I'm going to generously apply that to the back of the paper. And then I'm also going to be using some tacky glue. Now you could use Mod Podge, but I actually prefer to use tacky glue. Then I don't have to put a coat over top. This helps the paper to really stick well. So now I'm just pressing it down into the glue. I'm also using a card to press it down. I go in and add a little extra glue here and there, either using the glue stick or the glue that's left over on my finger. And I'm just going to finish adding some touches to the edge. Now I'm taking something that's flat and then something to weigh it down to smooth it out onto the surface while it dries. So here's another bird's nest that I had made, and I am going to generously apply some hot glue to the back and place it in the middle of the paper on the canvas board. And also using some mini eggs that I painted with the Whisper chalk paint and some paint splatters, I will hot glue those to the middle of the nest. So I thought it would be really fun to add some words to this piece. These are Tim Holtz Ideology word stickers. And I picked out the phrase, "Together is the best place to be." You can pick up these word stickers from Michael's. You can pick them up on Amazon as well. I'm just distressing the edges with my Distress Oxide ink again, and then I'm going to stick it onto the bottom of the frame. I then am going to use the varnish to seal it in. I absolutely love how this piece turned out. It's very nature inspired. It says spring to me, and it's rustic and natural. It'll fit perfect in my home decor. I would love to know which one is your favorite. I want to thank Jamie for joining me today. I had a lot of fun. Again, please go check her channel out. Thank you all so much for watching today. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.